Now, can I finish up by talking about standards?
Oh, yes, please.
We know, obviously, the government had their call for evidence in respect of sanctions and conduct, and everybody responded, the sector responded at large, I believe. We haven't really heard anything further. We have some noise that it's on the agenda somewhere down the line. Obviously, the government's really busy at the moment, focusing on its host of bills that it's pushing through. But what's your hope for the government's actual implementation in respect of forthcoming legislation?
So I understand the dilemma they have, and that dilemma was articulated wonderfully, actually, at the ADSO conference by Paul Hoey. Paul Hoey did a session on this, just saying how hard this is.
Mm.
So
Well,
if
Paul
the
Hoey wrote
government
the code, didn't he?
did,
Well,
yes,
yeah.
yes, yeah. And you know, that's an interesting, because of course there's the code he would like to have written.
Yeah, well,
May or may not have been politically land well. But if the government is going to come back and say, right, we're going to have a mandatory code again for England, because we've got to remember that Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, had the system that came in first time round 2000 and is still working, works, rather well. If we want to go for guidance on the workings of the code, then look at the guidance for the Ombudsman for Wales and the Commission for Scotland, and there it is. So there is really something missing, and it's not just the code, it's the thought process that goes around it, because one of the things people miss from the Standards Board for England was the guidance.
Yeah.
Was that once a year, let's do a trawl through all of the cases, and what's the learning for everybody around that? But going back to some of the knotty questions around, well, where does private life and life as a counsellor start and end in the world of social media?
That's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, and one of the things that we do as a firm and as a team within the firm is standards investigations, and these questions on freedom of expression and political expression, and when does that turn into abuse and harassment and all of that is a regular set of questions that comes up. But we come back to counsellors in England are still the least regulated they've been since 1927. That's quite a stark thing. That pendulum of weak to strong regulation has gone right over as far as it almost could possibly do, to the point where, we have counsellors who have criminal convictions for fraud from their own counsel who can't be removed. And one of the things at the ADSO conference was it was combined with the International Institute for Municipal Clerks, which is loads of people from the States and the Netherlands and all getting together and talking to them. I had a lovely evening talking to them about standards and recall and how it works in other jurisdictions when counsellors are naughty. Because I know it comes as a great shock, but sometimes they are. And what can you do about that? And currently we have this terribly toothless system, which is a frustration for everybody. As soon as you step outside of the machinery of the big parties and their discipline, their ability to discipline their own when they wish to, because let's face it, if there's one vote in it, how is there some kind of independent process? Because what's been shown rather uncomfortably in places is the ballot box alone doesn't work because of the way that the ballot box works, and also because it's once every 4 years. And what happens if somebody does something horrendous on year one but doesn't get sent to prison for more than 3 months or doesn't end up on the sex offender register? They stay as a counsellor. So where is some sort of control, even equivalent to those of company directors? So it's needed. And the government has now said 18 months. The bill will be next Parliament. There just wasn't time to do it for this bill. now, once they started to get their head around the knotty problems, they need more time. So the promise is for the next King's Speech. So a bill and any outcome is 18 months. So if any councillors are listening to this, please be naughty within the next year and you'll be all right. After that.
Well, I think it's more, I'm sure I read that there's going to be, well, there might be a push to ensure that because of the overcrowding, that any sentences for 12 months will automatically be suspended. So there will be no custodial time.
Well, that's kind of it, because the way that the 72 Act is written at the moment it's a conviction of 3 months, which I understand includes suspended sentences. But of course, that was written in a time when things like community sentences just didn't exist. So it would have been a really easy stroke of the pen for the government to say, right, you are disbarred from being a councillor if you get a community sentence of. But the government of the day, all those recommendations that were put forward by the Committee for Standards in Public Life, bar one, got a response of no, and the one got "we'll think about it" from the previous government. This government is picking up those recommendations now, but is dragging its feet, and we're all sort of stuck in this limbo of waiting to see what will happen. So
what I don't get,
take Whitehall on trust and say, the world of whatever political colour is saying councillors need a system of regulation. And that needs to happen. Question how quickly, and the fighting, as ever, will then be the devil in the detail stuff.
But if you look at any other kind of position of authority or gravitas, so, if we look at solicitors, barristers, if we got, regardless of sentence, a conviction of any sort would be likely to threaten our ability to continue in our, not so much employment, but actually our professional status would be threatened. Depends on the conviction. Councillors have such an important, prominent role within their society and responsibility, and in some cases, they could be responsible for large swathes of oversight of budget and all the rest of it. And the fact that they don't have anything at the moment that even really puts them on par with even a company director, let's face it, that can be difficult at times to even hold people to account through that. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Like I say, I think the argument has been won.
Yeah.
There are those two examples, historic examples. One, some with that lovely example of the French mayor who went to prison for corruption, came out and was immediately re-elected on the basis that the people thought that's the only way you got something done. So great, we want someone who's corrupt. I don't think that's the way to go forward. I think everybody agrees with that. Here we have the example, and there was that councillor who, was a farmer, visited a special school for children with special educational needs, and said, if these were lambs, I'd have dashed their brains against the wall. What a waste of money. Forced to resign, then re-stood for election and was immediately re-elected, only by a small majority, then said something similar again and was forced to resign. So this is politics. The standards aren't the same. That ability to express views, like them or not, is there. So it's not the same as other areas. We all know the solicitor was struck off for growing cannabis in their own greenhouse. So they wouldn't impact on the supply chain. They still got, still ended up in trouble because that's a different standard. But there still needs to be a standard, and the world, I think, without exception, has said the current code of conduct regime does not cut it. The question is, what is it now replaced with? And I think there is some sympathy for those in Whitehall who were tasked to go away and draft that in a way that works, and works with the grain of politics rather than against it.
Well, the good
and
news
it's
is that
hard.
the government are very open to listening and working
Yeah.
collaboratively with stakeholders, which is
Yeah,
exactly
and
why.
my question at the ADSO conference to Paul and the politicians was, look, you all know this is needed, get on with it, and what are you doing to make sure that it's moving? So,
Yeah.
you know, everything LLG and others can do to apply pressure. And yes, I know that one might say there's a little bit of self-serving since our practice is about investigations, and if there was a harder regime with real consequences, we might get more work. So I just put that out there that there is an inherent conflict of interest. But you know, that pressure is coming from all sides, but it needs to continue. And the message said to ministers, make this happen. You know, their ministerial code and parliamentary standards are better than local governments at the moment. And that's been historically the other way around. So get on with it.
Excellent. Get on with it. We'll leave it there, I think. Thanks ever so much for joining me today, Philip.
Pleasure. Speak to you soon. Take care.